by Tata.
It's the sound of the country's daughters clamoring for an education. In this Uttar Pradesh town of Anup Shahar, Sam Singh has used unusual but effective methods to give them one.
I'm not an educationist, I'm not a social worker, but I know how to tackle business issues. Namaste ji, namaste.
So he made parents of girls there a business proposition. For every day that a girl went to school, he would put 10 rupees in her bank account. If she crossed 75% attendance, he would give her a cycle. And if she finished school, he would build the family a toilet. In 15 years, Singh can claim to have educated more than 1,000 girls. But it's just one drop in an ocean of illiteracy for the country's women. India has the world's largest population of non-school-going girls. 62%, nearly 2 in 3 of all illiterate children are girls. Just about half of India's girls can read versus 3/4 of India's boys. They say send a boy to school and you'll educate the boy. Send a girl to school, you'll educate a family, maybe even a community. Yet whether it's going to class or building a career, the inequality between girls and boys in India cuts deep. Hello and welcome to the Power of 49, our Jagore initiative for women in association with Network 18 ahead of elections 2014. We're trying to get women's issues onto the political agenda here on the Power of 49. Each week we've brought you those issues, but we also talk about solutions, as this week we discuss education and employment. We're very privileged to have in our studios today Kiran Bedi, the first Indian women's IPS officer. She's distinguished herself as a fearless officer, a founding member also of the India Against Corruption campaign, and is of course known for her many firsts. Also in our studio, you just saw his story, Virendra Singh, or Sam Singh as he is known, the founder of the Pardada Pardadi Educational Trust. And we're pleased to have in our studio Sairee Chahal. She's the founder of what's called SHEROES, She Heroes, someone who's inspiring women to find their work-family balances. We're also going to be joined on the show by Naina Lal Kidwai. She's the country head of HSBC India, the first Indian woman to graduate from Harvard Business School. She has blazed a trail ever since. And we will also hear from actor Abhishek Bachchan, who is now a powerful voice for girls' education. Let's start, Sam Singh, with that story of yours. You make it look really easy. Put that 10 rupees in for each girl when she goes to school. Give her a cycle when she crosses a certain amount of attendance. Build a toilet for her home. It sounds very easy. Why doesn't it work in all of India?
No. It will work anywhere you want to work. What you have to see, I'm an industry guy. I have learned that if the leader wants team to go to the moon, but team wants to go to the beach, you have to understand maybe the road to the moon goes via beach. So you have to find out what is the beach for that community.
You have to incentivize.
Yeah. So first question every mother says, how is she going to get married? That 10 rupees is not magic. 10 rupees is when she will complete the 12th grade, her mom will have 40,000 rupees in her bank account.
All right. So incentivizing is one of the main issues there. Kiran Bedi, as we look at action points, things that politicians really are able to commit to, things that not only are something we want, but something that are workable. What would you say is there for girls' education?
Since I work with children, work with girls, do you know the first priority for girl is security? How does she secure herself to go to school? Parents don't send the girl because they feel the girl might get teased on the way. Their security is number one. Water is another, which we haven't mentioned. You give them a toilet, right? You give them a bike. Well, security is so linked. Water. If there's no water in the house, who fetches the water?
Very important.
Third, there's another thing which is emerging, is siblings. Supposing the mother is a labor force, right? She's at work, but she's got 3-4 children. The eldest of the daughter stays back to mind the children, to mind the home. So remember, they're more than that. Not just a toilet, not just a bike. It's security, right? You're looking at overall governance. All this fits into governance, and it's so interrelated for all the ministries at work. Somebody provides entrepreneurship, somebody provides the schooling, somebody provides the infrastructure, somebody provides the budgeting. See how it's interlinked? In the end, it's all about governance. See, I've noticed many children not coming. We really have to go back and convince the parents saying, अब अच्छा हम घर बस भेजेंगे. That's where transport then
so the
takes care of
government
security.
The government must take some of that responsibility. Sairee, would you agree?
I think it's the government's job to put the frameworks in place. It's not the real running of programs, but transportation, commuting, and not only at junior level. When women drop out of workforce later on, because commutes have become longer and unstable, they've become unreliable. So it's very difficult for young mothers to step out for long hours. Same with frameworks, broadband internet. I think broadband internet will change the flavor of education and employment for women of this country because it will bring access to them. It will also ease out a lot of other challenges.
Let's look at the basics first. Basics is there is a school, and the girl feels secure to go, and the parent is willing to send. All the other incentives then add on.
All right. Sam Singh, you've of course had to pay for each of these girls out of your savings, out of donations. Is there a role for the government there?
No. Let me tell you, the belief I have that the government anywhere in the world are bad doers. They never do. They should not be in doing business. They are at their best when they are the enablers, when they are the facilitators. The doers are industry. Doers are NGOs. Doers are people who want to make the difference, you know. So the combination of government, industry, and of course the community with which you are dealing with. This is the combination you need.
All right, we have a doer here.
Panchayat is a very important role. If 60% of India is with panchayats, what are the role of the panchas?
Excellent.
What is the role of the sarpanch? What is the role of the education officer?
So you're saying it's a community that eventually has to...
It is a community, but government has the money. Government has the budget. Who pays the teachers? You can have private school, which will have a higher fee, but some will not willing. In the RTE, you have a free schooling today. Who provides the teachers? Partnerships can, where the industry provides the teacher, the government provides the place, the panchayat provides a place, and there is an overall security. People can't become police themselves.
All right, some kind of a mix of the two, but it's very important that the girls' security as well as the incentives be in place. You spoke about technical education. You also wanted to speak about sports.
Yes, absolutely. I think when we talk about education, I think education has various flavors. So there is the rural education, there's also the urban schools, the government-owned infrastructure, and then there's the private infrastructure. Irrespective of all of these, there are centralized curriculum devising bodies, right? The regulators are the same. And I think if we give sports a place in our curriculum, it will enable a lot of young women and men as well to, one, develop a lot of physical energy. It helps you create confidence, which you need very much as you progress in life. You face adversity, and it's a huge enabler.
All right, Kiran Bedi, sports is a part of girls' education. We're talking about the possibility that boys must be made to do home science so that they can, in fact, help out when they grow up. Girls must be made to do sports?
Both should do both. Both should play, both should do home science, because both need a home and both need courage. Both need outdoor exposure. Because if we only focus on girls, our boys will get left behind and they will pull the girls back. We need to groom both. Boys to be taught responsibility, girls to be taught courage.
Sam Singh, yet you focus really on girls' education. Why?
Because an enlightened mother will create an enlightened family. An enlightened family will create an enlightened village, and so on and so forth. And what is enlightened? Two things. She is socially independent, she is financially independent. That is what we guarantee. We do a very communistic thing. We guarantee every girl a job.
You guarantee a job. And that's very important because we come to the next set of challenges for women. They're educated, and yet employment brings with it its own challenges. Women, remember, make up only 19% of the Indian workforce. That's women who go out to work. Let's try and bring in a word from the other side, from the corporate side. Joining us now is Naina Lal Kidwai. She is the country head for HSBC in India. She's also been the president of FICCI. Naina Lal Kidwai, thanks so much for joining us. After something like 80 years, FICCI finally got its first women's president in you.
86 years, Suhasini, and let me start by congratulating you for putting a program such as you have together.
Naina Lal, 60% of women managers quitting their careers midway. That's really what the surveys are showing. How does one change that? What policies would you like to see in order to stop this?
I think, Suhasini, this is one of the biggest challenges that we in the corporate sector have. The fact that women are indeed very capable, perform very well, but can begin to look at other areas which they need to address and then drop away. So one of the things we've started to do in companies, and it's really something I wish we, for those of us who came up through the system, had earlier, is the sort of factors which help keep women at the workplace. So maternity leave today, for example, in companies like HSBC in India, is now up at 6 months, not the traditional 3. And then when they come back to the workplace, flexi hours, sabbaticals, all of this are parts of the package which enables and assists the process of reintegration into a workplace when they do have other pulls and pressures. And then there's a whole bunch of policies and indeed implementation around these policies of daycare centers at the workplace which enable young mothers to bring their babies to work basically. So it's a huge amount of sensitization that has happened, and one cannot ignore that some of it has to be around the way the men and boys in the organization work as well, and training provided in terms of that sensitization, particularly around sexual harassment or what can be construed as sexual harassment at the workplace as well.
All right, and that's certainly an important part of it. Of course, a lot of this needs to also be taken up at the governmental level, at the political level. What are the action points you'd like to see our political parties take up, particularly ahead of the elections?
The political class has to continue to ram home the fact that we need security and safety for our women. Women should walk freely any time of day or night in our big cities, in our small cities, in rural India, without fear. And we are just not there. I think there is also, of course, the engagement of women in political structures, and this brings to mind areas like women reservation. Now, I have been one of those who've not always been in favor of quotas, but I feel when things do not progress, sometimes you have to kickstart this by having a quota. India does really badly, for example, even in the corporate sector on women directors. It's 5.6% is all that we have in terms of women directors on a board. So the reservation that has come now through the Companies Act is, I think, a good one because it will force more women on the board. They get trained, therefore, into these roles. They become better directors, better women managers by virtue of the exposure they get, and then hopefully that quota and reservation goes away. So I think these quotas and reservations are important at a particular point in time. They maybe don't need to be there forever, but they do help us achieve some objective. And that could be one way that the political class also embraces this area of reservation at the parliament level.
All right, very important points. Naina Lal Kidwai, thanks so much for joining us. Kiran Bedi, women's reservations, both at the political level as well as in the private sector. Where do you come in on that?
I think certain things are becoming very essential, because if you don't bring them in, they won't come in. Men are coming by default. That's why you have family relationships. So there is nothing called political governance training schools. Political governance school is a very vital missing link in our country.
Train women.
We are not training men or women in political governance. And that's why we're getting ill-trained, untrained people in politics who are onto very different modes but have no clue about governance. This is a part of our women manifesto. Opening political governance schools at the levels so that women are trained, and then you would not need much of reservation. They will step in on their own by merit.
Sairee, where do you come in on?
Yes, we need quotas, but we need to time them. We cannot go on with the time bound. They have to be time bound. They have to be very focused, and we have to be very careful to who is availing of quotas, because it's a
because so far
it can spread.
It's a 50-50 about how successful those quotas are. Now, on the power of 49, we're going to take a short break. As we head into that, listen in to what actor Abhishek Bachchan had to say. He has now become a powerful voice for girls' education. Stay with us.
I really do believe that education is the starting point and the end point. Having said that, I'd also like to say that girl-child education is of paramount importance. You're talking about almost half the population of the country. There needs to be strides taken to improve conditions under which women and girls can educate themselves.
Followed by Tata.
When society pushes them back, these women fight back. Born in a brothel, Naseema Khatun was never going to have it easy. But a police raid in Muzaffarpur's red light area where she lived when she was 17 convinced her she had to organize others like her to secure their rights.
मान सम्मान और अधिकार ये तीनों चीज हमारे मेन लक्ष्य में है.
The dignity that Naseema and her group at Parcham demand includes licenses, so police can't extort from commercial sex workers, insurance packages for retired women in the area, while Naseema runs a door-to-door campaign to persuade commercial sex workers not to force their own children into the profession, opening the door to education and a different employment for them. Welcome back to the Power of 49, our initiative along with Jagare to have women's issues included in our political agendas. Elections have been announced and we must waste no time in getting parties to hear our campaign. Sairee, we just saw the story of Naseema Khatun and of course there are many sheroes, she heroes around the country. Why is it so difficult to get what they are doing essentially applied across the country, especially in rural areas?
I think one, we have a distribution challenge. We're a very diverse country. We're a large country and we are not seamlessly connected through one medium or through one channel. What works in one area doesn't work in another. And of course, it's not one size fits all. So when we say women, it's not one kind of women all over the country, and I think the variations make it hard to apply the same solutions. The variables change, and I think the priorities change region to region, area to area, and demographic to demographic.
Kiran Bedi, even so, it's in the constitution, but the government has not been able to educate our children or educate our girls in particular. Is that because the government has essentially failed, that the government should really now leave this to the public sector, to community-minded people?
No, we need a very strong mix because government has the money. Government has the budget. It just has to deliver. And it delivers in partnership. Willing NGOs, willing individuals in partnership. And in that, responsibility of the bureaucracy is critical because they are the service delivery. They are the service deliverers. It is there where it is failing.
All right, so let's come down to our action points. And we certainly talked about incentivizing schooling. The cost of transporting girls is an important thing when it comes to education. The special emphasis we've discussed on science, on technology in particular. Is there a particular thing that political parties should commit to when it comes to bridging the rural-urban divide when it comes to technology?
Yes. Definitely they have a role to play because like Madam Bedi said, money, they got it. They have to be the facilitator, enabler, bringing that to the table.
All right.
We're
also when the politician takes votes from everybody, they need to bring everybody together.
All right, and give them that message. The introduction in curriculums for boys, they must learn home sciences. For girls, they must be pushed into sports.
Both must learn both.
All right, when we come to employment, it's very clear that women need to be welcomed back to work once they are mothers. That's the only way you're going to bring them and make them productive. So mandatory creches, women-friendly maternity policies. And I know, Samsung, you don't agree with reservations, but you think there is a place for a time-bound quota, women's reservations in jobs, women's reservation at the political level?
See, that is the last resort. If you cannot solve the problem, you do that, But that is, to me, is escaping the real problem. Country is growing 8%. Industry need the trained people. If you have the right kind of a school, there is no question. The polytechnics, which Madam Bedi is talking about, if that polytechnic is teaching girls what industry need, God, you have jobs all over the place. So you don't need a reservation, but as a last resort,
it does work. And political reservations as well.
Yes.
All right, let's just wrap up those action points for you. Incentivizing schools. The cost of transporting girls to school must be borne and secured by the state. The special emphasis on technical and science education for girls and rural recruiting camps in order to enable women in our villages more opportunities for jobs outside of them. The introduction in curriculum of home sciences for boys, sports for girls, both for both, mandatory creches, women-friendly maternity policies, and then finally that time-bound commitment to some kind of quota that will bring more and more women out and bring them not just into jobs but also into our political sphere. Thanks so much for joining us. This has certainly been an action-packed episode of The Power of 49. Thanks for all your suggestions, Kiran Bedi, Sairee Chahal, Mr. Sam Singh as well. And that's it on The Power of 49, this Jagare initiative, joining hands with Network 18. We want the discussions to continue and we want you to be a part of that. Log on to jagare.com, register and push the pin on the women's issue that affects you where you are. You can also give us a missed call on the number given on your screen, 092274-92274. Remember, through their television sets across the country, protagonists from leading television shows have been encouraging women to raise their issues, and lakhs of women have come out and spoken about them. We'd like to leave you here with that thought on The Power of 49. Thanks for watching.
Jagore, 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 jagore.